Discussions in this show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a registered broker-dealer, member FINRA. Fixed insurance is offered through various independent insurance companies. Cambridge does not offer tax or legal advice.
Welcome to the Essay Update. I'm your host, Mike Schuster. Each episode, we dive into meaningful conversations and timely topics designed to empower our communities and clients. From financial insights to real-life confidence, we're here to help you stay informed, inspired, and ready for what's next. We are welcoming to the podcast today Venus King. Venus is a faculty at Central Community College here in Grand Island. She's a professor in the Business Administration Department. She's also the author of the new book, What I Would Have Told Her, and she's the host of her own podcast, Mo-Nection. Venus, excited to have you here today to dive into women in finance and talk about topics all surrounding that. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And we go back a long ways, you and I do. We worked together at Wells Fargo many years ago, so we're going to age ourselves today. So talk about a little bit about your career and your success, what brought you to here, writing your book, becoming a professor. Talk about that first.
Yeah. Well, when we worked together, we were just newly having children with our own families, and now I think we're both empty nesters, which is wild. And the younger version of me was a totally different person in a different season of my life. At that time, again, becoming a new mom, the decisions I made around my career and how to handle finances and what risks I was willing to take looks much different than today. We talked about a little bit about seasons of life. And when we first originally met, definitely a career woman. I did not have any children. I would wear my suit proudly and walk across the bank in my heels. And I remember when I left to go have my first child, people were asking me, are you going to return? And it was absolutely yes, without a doubt, until I had to make the decision to actually go back. And something changed in me when I became a mom. But at that time, financially, I didn't have a choice. I had to go back to work. So when you and I worked together, I had my second child, and I'd made a promise to myself and a decision that I would not go back to work if I financially didn't have to. Mm-hmm. And so I worked part-time and nervous at that time because I always had a heart for business and leadership, and I thought that if I stepped out of that role that I would lose it forever. And I just really want to assure any young woman that might be in a different season of their life that if it's for you, it will find you. My kids, again, they're empty nesters, and I have oodles of opportunities in which to step into career and leadership roles that I want to.
Yeah, that's really good, that seasons of life. I see that definitely out there with not only we have a lot of young women that work with us here at Schuster Anderson, but my two daughters that are in the business field right now too. I can see the different seasons of life. As a certified financial planner, I like to read the publications that are out there. So I want to ask you about something. The CFP board recently published that 69% of women now call the shots on household investments and finances. So talk about that a little bit of a shift going on, in that. So what are your interactions or what are your thoughts on that?
I think we're seeing a little bit of a shift in what may used to be traditional marriages. Obviously, divorce rates are higher. Women may be choosing to actually go into the career world and start their own, whether it be businesses or step in on their own without actually bringing in a partner at that time. The conversations sound different. We didn't have the internet like we used to. And it also is structured a lot based on how we were raised. Mm-hmm. You and I were both raised, I was raised by a single mom. The money conversation was much different than maybe somebody who came from a family where you had both parents at home. But we're seeing, I think, a shift based on women stepping more into confidence and stepping into business than we've seen in the past.
Yeah, and one of the things that we've talked about this in the past too is our firm does a lot of fiduciary planning and advising. And one of the things that we've seen more so lately is we're handling widows who didn't have that role. So this is a good trend. There's without a doubt, this is a very good trend that's out there right now. talk a little bit about your podcast and how you talk to women about finance. I'm just curious, what are things that you like to talk about or tips that you like to discuss with women?
Yeah. Well, Mo-Nection, first and foremost, it stands for more connection. And I believe in the tagline, by community and connection, we help each other rise together. And when I work with young women specifically, or just even students, I ask them to take account for where are they today? We can't think of a GPS system. We want to have clearly in mind where we want to go, but if we don't identify where we are today, so that could be the amount of debt that we have, that could be acknowledging that we don't even understand what a credit score is. And so what I say is identify where you are today and establish what your core values are as an individual. Successful companies, yours, driven by clear values. When you know your values as a person, when asks come your way, it makes your yes or no's easier because they align with who you are. Our values, we can look at the way that we spend our time, we can look at the ways that we spend our money and see where people's values truly lie. So that would be something I would recommend for young women. I'm a podcast junkie. I read a ton of books, and those are so easily accessible now for people. So even if you don't have a mentor or somebody in your life that's really shown you how to use money and understand money, there are so many free resources out there to help you get started.
Yeah. So let's talk about how to manage money, like in marriage and those kind of situations. We talked about how the traditional role of the spouse now, or in this case, women, is now stepping up more. What are best practices that you advise women to do in money to help them out? Yeah.
Well, just in general, I think when you're talking marriage, and these are conversations that I have with, my own children, is really understanding a little bit about yourself and your own pattern with money. How were you taught about money? How was money talked about when you were being raised? Are you a spender? Are you a saver? Because knowing that component about you is going to be important when you choose a mate. You mentioned it, whoever you pick to be married is one of the biggest decisions that you will ever make. Yeah. You see how much money causes problems in relationships. And so knowing yourself and your own story, I even go through an exercise with my students and have even people I work with. What is your first memory of money? Because just thinking about that will shape kind of how you make future decisions. And so I would recommend that having the conversations with somebody that you're considering marrying about money before you get married, and being equipped, especially as a female, if you didn't have a strong guiding light before you, or a strong guidance mentor or parent teaching you about money, you need to take it upon yourself to understand your finances before you go into marriage.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's an excellent point on that. Okay, so you said you're a podcast junkie. So tell me a couple podcasts you like to listen to.
Yeah. Well, yes, I'm a learner by nature, and so I'm constantly listening to podcasts when I'm getting ready in the morning, driving in the car. I would say Powerhouse Women, not only because that's my favorite podcast, because I've also joined her conference and a group where there are women. Surround yourself with people who either are running or moving the same direction as you, or or they are encouraging you to evolve or expand. So Powerhouse Women by Lindsay Schwartz. And then, gosh, who doesn't love a good Mel Robbins? She's second half of her life. Her book, Let Them. Gosh, that is one huge component I've had to, especially as a woman, to let others make their own decisions, and I be radically responsible for my own decisions.
Yep. And as well as the essay update, you probably
of course, you have some great episodes.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, Venus, it's been great to have you as a guest today. So appreciate catching up with you and you coming in today to talk about women in finance. So thank you for joining us, and look for Venus's podcast, Mo-Nection, out there also. So thank you.
Thank you.
Discussions in this show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a registered broker-dealer, member FINRA. Fixed insurance is offered through various independent insurance companies. Cambridge does not offer tax or legal advice.